What's going on, everyone? My name is Vince from Life with Vince Luu, and today is Friday. And you know what that means? Jiu-jitsu Fridays. And in today's episode, I asked my professor what should white belts focus on, and here's what he had to say.
Hey guys, Bryant Pangelinan here, owner of Sabre Jiu-jitsu and head instructor. Here to talk today about white belts and stuff white belts need to know, kind of going off of that last video that Vince did. But this is a little bit more detailed in regards to what a white belt should focus on, technique and curriculum-wise, and how to hone in on those type of skills to make sure as you go on in your journey that you never lose sight of them. Every instructor is different, and every instructor has their own philosophy of what should be taught at every level and what every belt level should know. So I'm just giving you my perspective and how I was taught, not to mention my own beliefs as far as how a white belt should approach their jiu-jitsu. First and foremost, definitely don't go heavy on the YouTube stuff. When you start to fill your brain with everything that's cool and new, especially when you see videos that are highly viewed and it's the talked about thing in the academy that you train at, then you'll start to really lose track. So look at that and take it kind of with a grain of salt, in that those athletes or those that are talking about it have the bigger skill set than you, and they comprehend movements and technique much greater than you. But also at the same time, if you're watching it and seeing it, and you can kind of pinpoint little things that you do know. Oh wow, he just hip escaped there. Oh wow, she just grabbed the gi. I know how to grab the gi that way. So it's not all bad, but in my opinion, it tends to make the viewer or the students a little bit more overwhelmed. So stay away from that. So technique-wise, first and foremost, understanding that a white belt, it is your main objective to survive the fight, to know how to defend yourself in the most common basic situations, which are position-wise, the mount, the back mount, and side control. So there's the big three, right? And that carries over obviously into every belt, but at white belt, you'll find yourself there in those situations more often than not. Why? Because your lack of skill and technique that your other teammates or counterparts may have been training longer than you have over you. So just see it as, wow, I got three objectives here. Understand how to get out of those things and how to defend myself properly. It's quite a bit of a array of skills that can be done in all those three positions. But when you think about it defensive-wise, how to escape those areas and how to escape those positions, it comes down to a very, very few. So how instructors tend to teach it, again, it will vary too. How I look at it is, take those three positions and know there's a commonality in all of it. And it's the hip escape. The hip escape will take you out of all of that. So this is why here at my academy, we love to emphasize the warm-up and that students not miss warm-ups, especially those newer students or lower belts, like even as far as up to a purple belt. In my opinion, a lot of times students tend to think of it, oh, I don't want to do the warm-up, it's too tiring, I get too sweaty, or all the excuses. I've heard it, been there, done that. So, but you got to immerse yourself and know that all the mechanics that are being taught in a warm-up alone, that is huge for your skill set going into the technique that's being taught for the day. So try not to miss those things. Aside from that, don't get keyed on to wanting to be able to submit everybody in the room. You're not going to. It's just not going to happen. Sure, you'll come across somebody that maybe has the same skill set as you or lower. Could be even newer than you as you, the white belt. You'll probably catch the lucky armbar. You might get the rear naked choke, stuff like that. But in my opinion, it's more likely that you're going to miss more than you're going to hit. And being focused, so driven and set on wanting to get those submissions, you're going to miss all the good stuff. And as they say in jiu-jitsu, it's position before submission. And that's about, in my opinion, close to about 90, 95, maybe even greater than that percentage-wise, as far as what jiu-jitsu is all about. And if you understand the mechanics of positions, those submissions that you are taught will make more sense. You'll feel it better, you'll understand it more, and you'll know when it's coming to you. So I like to look at jiu-jitsu as it's a big, giant area of study, right? We have the standing position. we have the bottom position as far as the guard, and we have the top side position, right? And within that, there's so much to learn. Takedowns alone, don't ever shy away from that. Be versed in at least a couple, maybe one or two, judo style takedown or a wrestling style takedown. Something that will keep you safe when you're on your feet. But also in the same term, how to defend those takedowns. So there's that first piece, knowing that whether you're on the mat here, and especially when you're learning jiu-jitsu and your instructor, your team allows you to stand, you'll know how to fall correctly, which even goes back right to those warm-ups. So, but as we go forward into the bottom, the ground game, right? I look at the rule of thumb as far as like, here's 5 guards we can talk about, and it'll carry on into those upper belts. Closed guard, half guard, open guard, spider guard, and butterfly, right? Very, very basic guards, in my opinion, ones that were thrown at me as a white belt. And if you take those guards, and I tell this to my students, if you can sweep from that guard, if you can submit somebody from that guard, and if you can pass that guard, you'll start to see your skill set is very strong in one area, but also very weak in another. But as you go along in your journey, you'll start to branch off, and that tree of knowledge that you've gained in each and every class or seminar, or maybe your buddy showed you a technique that he or she did to you in training, it just starts to grow, and you get more branches on that tree, right? So by the time you get to, like an upper belt down the line, their branches, their tree is just full of all these techniques. They'll take that closed guard and be like, wow, this person is really, really, really good in this guard. And they'll just keep growing from that. But don't be so bombarded by no, I gotta know this, I gotta know that. Again, it goes right back to what I talked about in the beginning. Understand those defensive pieces, those 3 positions, but then also understand how to escape and survive several basic submissions that are probably going to be taught to you. Armbar, omoplata, triangle choke, rear naked choke, and guillotine choke. So there's 5, right? In my opinion, those are probably the most basic submissions that happen all the time on any jiu-jitsu mat. Sure, you'll come across those other type of lapel chokes and all those whatnot, but those submissions alone, they carry also into no-gi and to basic self-defense. I can go into collar chokes and whatnot in another time, but in my opinion, those 5 there can really test you in as far as understanding how to escape and survive the fight as a white belt. So it seems like a lot. 3 positions, 5 submissions. That's 8 areas of study that you got to try and comprehend and retain as a white belt. When I see white belts in the room, and I sit there and watch them move, I don't look for their ability to do all the fancy moves. I don't look for their ability to pull off any kind of cool submission. I look for that white belt that can sit there and dodge bullets and survive the fight in a role with maybe an upper belt. That to me is more impressive. That to me is someone I key on to and watch, because when they get that general understanding of how to defend themselves, they'll know in future time, when they become that person that has that better understanding of offense, they'll know how to submit somebody much better. Hopefully that makes sense in regards to knowing both sides of the coin. When you learn how to defend something, by the time you become more technical, you'll know how to finish that movement much better, because you'll have learned all those mechanics within. As far as guards and whatnot, yes, learn guard as much as possible, especially the closed guard. When I first started jiu-jitsu, I was told pull guard, pull guard, pull guard. Fall to your back, fall to your back, fall to your back. I was a wrestler, so being on my back, we didn't want to be there. But when I was told, hey, pull to your closed guard, Ryan, it will be much more beneficial for you. And I was like, really? I'm not going to be worried about being pinned or somebody scoring points on me? They're like, nope, just sit there, cross your feet over their hips, and you're good to go. I was like, man, I can actually rest down there. So you kind of have to unlearn a little bit to learn more if you come from other combat sports. But again, think about what I talked about, the 3 positions and the 5 submissions. 8 areas of study that if you cover and even make note to yourself along your journey as a white belt, you'll know that, wow, I'm really good in these areas, but I'm kind of poor in this one. How can I be better? Understand the closed guard. That should be the bread and butter and your home base for anything, from white belt all the way to black even. And you'll see that once you're versed in that closed guard, as far as those areas of study I talked about, knowing how to attack from it, submission-wise, how to sweep from it, and how to pass it. So be just as good on the bottom as you are on the top. It seems like a lot. Hopefully that was comprehensible and you guys can understand that. But again, don't bombard yourself with too much, because that alone is 8 areas that can really be enough for anybody to try and comprehend. So anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for tuning in. Have a great day.
Thanks, Professor, for all of your insight, and next week we will be continuing this series and moving on to blue belts and what we should focus on, and then the week after will be purple belts, and then brown belts, and then black belts. Thanks for watching. Hope you all enjoyed that video. Please let me know down below if you have any additional comments or questions for me. We'd love to hear from you all. Please give this video a thumbs up. You really help me out. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, consider subscribing. On this YouTube channel, I come out with daily YouTube content. Mondays, real estate. Tuesdays, Q&A. Wednesdays, live stream. Thursday, miscellaneous. Fridays, jiu-jitsu. Saturdays, review/searchable video. And Sundays, ultra running. If you want to catch another one of my videos, there's a video right here, and there's a video right here. See you all tomorrow.